Hi, good evening, everyone. So we are going to come here today and talk about the report that we did for uh, just another police department. We're going to highlight the key essential elements of this report, which contains a comprehensive three-phase analysis of various tools that the police department may plan to use in selecting new police officers. With that being said, I'd like to introduce the entire team. Okay. Right. Our team brings together a diverse professional expertise and background across different fields: psychology, human resources, organizational development, and conflict resolution, complemented by specialized skills in data analytics, talent strategy, change management, and HRIS. This blend of strategic insight and practical experience enables us to deliver effective, actionable, and legally defensible solutions. With that being said, our team includes Natalie, Ashley, Morgan, Heather, and myself.
Thanks, Bina, for kicking it off. Happy to talk about that this validation project builds on the work completed in a previous job analysis for the police officer role. We appreciate that Lawrence Braddock has brought us back and engaged our team again to provide in contract support. As a reminder, in our first job analysis, the team determined which knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics, also known as KSAOs, are essential to assess in police officer applicants. These 10 KSAOs are knowledge of laws and government, knowledge of public safety, critical thinking skills, judgment and decision making, oral and written communication skills, social perceptiveness, customer and personal service skills, deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, and monitoring skills. They're summarized in the major categories on the slide here, and they can be measured by four various predictors. General mental ability, and it's known as GMA, in basket, exercises, structured interviews, and knowledge tests. You can find a matrix which details which KSAOs are measured by which predictors in our final report.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm going to walk through at a high level our project overview and strategy for this project. So we were asked to continue personnel selection work and collect validation evidence on the four predictors that JAPD is currently using to select talent. And then based on that, we will make suggestions around any modifications that are needed to the system prior to its implementation. And in doing this, we looked at a few different forms of validity, including both content and criterion related validity, which Heather will go into more detail on the next slide, as well as looking at adverse impact to make sure that there's fairness and legal defensibility for the system. The importance of this validation work is that when both selection scores and job performance are high, or a high error, as you can see on the grid on the right, that means that the organization correctly selects individuals who go on to perform well. When they're both low on the bottom left quadrant, the organization correctly rejects applicants. And then you can see the errors, or the other two boxes. If it's low-high or high-low, that means we are accepting people who won't perform well or rejecting people who would have performed well. And that's what we want to avoid with this system. And valid selection measures help us do that, while also reducing potentially adverse impact, which is important to ensure the fairness of the system. I'll pass it over to Heather to talk more about validation. Heather, I think you're on mute.
Thank you for joining us. Sorry, I always forget to unmute. Each of the three phases had multiple steps that directed the analysis. At a high level, phase one was content validity evidence, which establishes the foundation for JAPD's validation project by ensuring that each selection procedure reflects what the police officer role truly requires. And as you can see in phase two, it was our criterion related evidence that looks at the degree to which each selection method predicts job outcomes, e.g. like job performance. In phase 3, we looked at fairness and adverse impact and evaluates whether JAPD's proposed selection procedures demonstrates evidence of adverse impact against protected groups. In this case, Black and white applicants under a hypothetical 10% organizational selection rate, consistent with JAPD's anticipated hiring ratio. Additionally, in consideration of the current political landscape, the Executive Order 1428317 signed on April 23rd, 2025, changes enforcement of disparate impact liability, not law. So this means that Title VII still exists and is enforceable. State-level civil rights laws still apply. Courts can still consider disparate impact claims. Public sector agencies like JAPD are often held to higher scrutiny. Together, these phases form an integrated validation framework that ensures JAPD's selection system is job relevant, predictive, and equitable. This approach not only strengthens the quality of hiring decisions, but also demonstrates JAPD's commitment to evidence-based, transparent, and legally compliant selection practices. Now I'll throw it over to Morgan.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. Of the several options considered for JAPD, we recommend that JAPD retain the full 4-predictor model, as it demonstrates the higher overall validity. If JAPD were to continue with option A, it would be critical to closely monitor pass rates across administrations, conduct item-level differential item functioning analysis to reduce subgroup differences, and provide candidate preparation resources. To operationalize this recommendation, we propose using a multiple hurdle selection process with the 4-predictor model. A multiple hurdle approach is both transparent and cost-effective, while also ensuring that applicants meet minimum competency standards at each stage of the process. In a multiple hurdle system, candidates most successfully pass each stage before advancing, which places emphasis on establishing clear-cut scores for each hurdle to define minimum competency requirements. For implementation, we recommend administering the predictors sequentially in the following order. First, general mental ability. Second, the knowledge test. Third, the in-basket exercise. And finally, the structured interview. Thank you for your time. Please direct all questions and further contact support requests to our team's contact info as detailed in the cover letter. Thank you very much.